You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I am your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG. How you doing tonight, brother?
Yo, dude, I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing well. It's good to be with you guys tonight, talking about New World. Some quick housekeeping notes, y'all. If you haven't subbed to our YouTube,
Texas, y'all.
Hey man,
okay, am I rubbing off on you?
No, our Southern Missouri, we still are considered to be.
You still use that?
Hicks, rednecks, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Do you say ain't?
I try not to.
A lot of people here do, but I don't. That's not in my vocabulary.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, I think our parents try to raise us to speak well.
Yeah.
Public school, I don't know, but I'm a product of public school. You know, I can't, like, you know, I can barely speak sometimes. I don't know if it's their fault necessarily, but it could be partially my fault as well. And my the amount of assertiveness I've showed in school. That's also, is that a word? Yep, yes. There we go, dude.
Yes,
point proven.
Is actually a word. Yeah.
Oh well, how about that? Thank you.
Nailed it, bro.
I did. Not really, because I had no idea that I had nailed it. So, so real quick, guys, go sub to our YouTube channel. Guys, we just hit the big 500 sub count. Me and Bordy started that channel 6 months ago. I mean, we started pumping out videos 6 months ago. It had been a home for our VODs for a while before that. But we just started putting out 5 videos a week. I mean, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago? I lose track of time, honestly.
I do too, man. It goes by too fast. I don't know either, but yes, thank you for everybody who's subbed over there.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, it's a huge milestone, man. You know, it might not seem like a lot to a lot of people, but it is to us because we've worked very hard to obtain that 500. So thank you, guys. It's awesome.
Yeah, we really appreciate your guys' support over there on the YouTube channel. Obviously, the home of New World to Go. So, guys, we just wanted to say thank you. You guys are getting it first. Our dedicated podcast audience. You guys have been with us, I think, the longest because, I mean, New World to Go, this is the 60th episode, dude.
The first 40 episodes weren't even on YouTube. They were just
on my channel.
Podcast. Yeah, that's right. They were. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I need to bring them all over here eventually. I don't know what that does to the algorithm, but that's probably neither here nor there. But yeah, thank you guys for that, for the support on YouTube. If you haven't subbed over there, please do. We would appreciate it. Also, Apple, iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating. It really helps us out as far as where we set in the directory and people's ability to gain access or attention on the podcast. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, we appreciate that as well. And New World fans, guys, we're continuing to push forward. We just put up a new article today over there, or news article with all the questing changes. So go check that out. And guys, we just appreciate all the support you guys have been showing us during this delayed period. And we just want to say thank you again from the bottom of our hearts. So, Bordy, last episode, we promised that we would go over the weapon changes in the patch notes from March. And we're going to kind of do that right now because after reading through what is like 2 times more of the information than we covered on the last episode, which was like an hour and something long, we decided, or I'll take the blame, decided not to go over all them in their entirety. We're going to hit the high notes here. We're going to, obviously, a lot of you played the preview event, so we're going to kind of address all the changes that they made that is significant from the preview event and that meta that occurred that everybody hated. So we're going to go through that. And then, obviously, the rest of the patch notes, we have a link to them up on New World Fans. You can go check those out. We will probably break down each independent weapon and the changes they made, maybe what we think about the state of the weapon, potentially as we get closer to launch, or in the coming weeks, we might do an individual each weapon on the YouTube channel. But for the podcast, we're glancing over the changes, Bordy. So first and foremost, I thought this was really one of the most interesting changes that they made to weapons. They're changing the mastery points in each tree. Now, this is significant because it forces the player to not only make more choices as far as passives and the adaptations of each skill, but it doesn't allow players, or I guess does allow players to work down only one of the trees and potentially, a few skills in the other tree, or you can just spend all of your skills in one of the trees.
Yeah, I think this was actually a pretty good change because before there was like 32 choices, I think. So that was like 16 per tree. Now there's 38, which makes that 19 per tree. So you have 3 additional. So you have to spec. Yeah, you're right. Almost all of your points into one side of the tree or the other, or mix and match. It makes it a little bit harder to have it makes it a little bit harder to get the best of both sides, right? Because there's a skill on either side that you may want, but you may want to go deeper into this tree. It's a good change, man. I think it needed to happen. Adding additional passives. So to make it clear, I don't think they added additional active abilities to the trees. There's still only going to be 3 per side of the tree, but They added like depth to those abilities, to add passives to those abilities, and added additional passives. Just the little circle. If you remember from the preview event, there was like passives you could get along with the active, and then there were little circle passives within the tree too that just kind of were just like a general passive that you got. So they added more of those too to each side of the tree. So I think it's good, man. I think it's really good that they did that.
Yeah, I agree, and I would even potentially like to see them push forward into that, add more, passives, and maybe even an extra active in each tree, just to broaden the, the options that players have as they're building around these weapons. Because in a game like New World, there aren't classes, there aren't class abilities, there aren't, there's only weapons. So you know what I mean. A lot of your build is based on the weapon that you're choosing. So I'd like to have a lot more as far as choices go, or player build choices go, choices within the weapon choice, and I think that's one of the things they can definitely improve on. But it does show, obviously, this change shows that they're aware of that does need to take place. So it's good. Definitely a very good change for the weapon system. So next change here. Weapons are more individualized with stat changes and reworks of skill trees. Now, this is what we're hinting at as far as not going over them in detail. But Bordy, they did make some massive sweeping changes to the weapons as far as what we knew them to be in the preview event.
They did, man. Whenever I started reading through this, it was like, wow, some of these are 100% reworked from what they were before. They're not even the same. There's no ability the same in some of these things, which is crazy. And then some of them are just reworked to change some of those abilities up. They did a lot. They did a lot to every tree. It's pretty wild. Completely different from the preview to now. I can imagine all these weapons play different. Some of the weapons that people were using in the preview that they really liked, they may not like anymore. And vice versa. Some of the weapons that they didn't like, they may love because they're completely changed.
Yes, definitely. I just realized that the character in your background looks like he's going to chop your head off with a great axe. I don't know why. I didn't listen to your response. All I can think about is that guy cutting your head off. I don't know why.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate the morbid thought, dude. Are you going to come save me? Were you thinking about jumping in and
no, man?
And
you need to dodge roll, dude. That's the key. He's got he's going to back.
Dog, you gotta jump in and save me. You gotta block it.
No, man.
You're a terrible partner. You're a terrible PvP partner, dude.
I mean, I don't know if they've invented teleportation yet, Bordy, but we live very far away. I think you're going to die before I get there. You need to dodge roll, brother. Yep.
I got it, dude.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
You're good. All right. So here's the brief overview of the changes that we wanted to kind of brush over and kind of, make a point of. So the first and foremost here, and this was, I think, the biggest complaint about New World, potentially of the entire preview event, the life staff no longer has the speed of light tree or the blink ability that allows players to traverse long periods of time. It's basically the mount in the game. It was like you had to have the life staff on your back bar or you weren't doing it right. And we're gonna miss the whoa or whatever the character said, obviously. But dude, I'm so happy that ability is gone.
Yeah, they didn't just nerf it, they completely removed it. I think before they had tinkered around with nerfing it some, they reduced the length of it in a previous patch that they put out, and then finally they just said, forget it, we're just reworking the entire life staff tree and we're removing that ability altogether. So I would imagine they had a hard time balancing it, and it was really broken, dude. Like, everybody can agree it was really broken. It was the only thing you ran the life staff for, really. You didn't even run it to heal, you ran it to dash. Right. And without any other form of fast travel or anything to counter that in the game, because there wasn't anything, you could just dash away and get away so easily, or gap close someone and kill them easily. There was nothing else in the game that could even hold a candle to that ability. And I'm glad they removed it, man. I'm glad they went this route versus just nerfing it more and leaving it in the game, because now I think, looking at the life staff tree, it looks better to me. I like it a little bit better. It's basically all support now. There's really not a lot of damage that goes in there, which in my opinion it should be. It's a healer. It's a healing staff. And no dash, dude. It's awesome. Like, I'm all for that, dude. I really like that thing is gone.
Well, I think the trouble you run into with a game like New World, since there's no mounts or anything like that, is if you don't have an ability that allows players to, move or traverse the land in a, or create a gap or gap close on every weapon, then you're going to have players choosing a weapon not based off of the abilities that's on the weapon, not based off of what they're building or what stat they're building around, but strictly for the utility of being able to move around the map faster. So it had to be removed, or else you're literally, they did technically rework all of the weapon skill trees, but you would have had to add some sort of leap or blink or dodge ability on every weapon. So I'm just glad to see that they took the path, made the path of least resistance and took out the one crazy mobility thing in the game.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so here's the next one. This was another big complaint about the meta in the preview event. Berserk no longer makes you immune to damage. And again, very overpowered ability and effect, and it's no longer in the game.
Yeah, which I think is a fine change as well, because the hatchet was just, it was the preview event, it was another one of those things that everybody complained about. Basically, you had everyone running around with a hatchet on the front bar and a life staff on the back bar, and they would just dash to you or dash away from you and then just beat you to death with a hatchet. And that was the meta. That's what people were doing. It worked, and then people just pop berserk, and it was a little too much, man. So I'm okay with them removing that as well, because I don't think that was something that was ever going to be incredibly balanced. I think having an ability that makes you completely immune to all damage for any length of time is a little much, in my opinion, especially in PvP. So I'm glad they removed it, man.
Yeah, it was just a broken effect. They took a lot of the things that made the hatchet strong out of the game, like the stun locking and the stagger effect that you were getting with light attacks. Those aren't in the game anymore. But this was definitely a big offender. Popping berserk, before you engage, or maybe, waiting until you're losing a fight, then you pop berserk and now you're invincible so you can catch up and win. Like, it was just too strong of a mechanic, and that is not in the game anymore. This was like...
It is not.
It is not. The biggest troll ability probably in New World is no longer there, and that's Smoke Shot. Smoke Shot was removed from the bow. I know a lot of people shot, people dueling, or like, you shoot people in a fight with a mob, make everything crazy and hard to see, and that is no longer in the game. I think that disappointed some people, but there's the change, dude.
I think this is a good change, because the smoke shot, in all honesty, wasn't really used for a lot. Let's be real here. In PvP, it was cool. It hindered your visibility, but that's the only time you would use it. And now that they moved more into like this holy trinity area, and then you have people wanting to go run dungeons together, and it's PvE focused as well. I think it's fine to remove that, because dude, what are you going to use that for in PvE? You know what I mean? Like, it's a useless ability that you're not going to use. You're going to have to respec every time you go run a dungeon. So looks like they, I
was just going to say, one of the interesting things it could have been used for, now that there's like an aggro system, is to drop aggro. You know what I mean? You could pop that smoke shot and drop the aggro from the, potentially. But
that would have been cool.
They didn't see that to be useful.
I know. I didn't think about that. That would have been actually a dope use of that ability for sure. It was cool. I did use it a few times in some PvP situations. It created a big, thick, dense cloud of smoke, but I don't know, man. Ultimately, it wasn't great, really. I think there could have been other uses. I think the de-aggro thing would have been awesome. But they did add, it says the poison shot here, which I would assume it replaces that because it says poison shot creates a cloud of poison where the arrow lands. So now you have like this AoE poison ability now on the bow, which makes a little bit more sense to me. It's a little bit more useful, I think, or should be in both situations, PvP and PvE, versus the cloud, which was only useful in PvP. So, I think it's fine that they removed it. It would have been cool if they would have been a little bit more creative with it. Like you said, that's a fantastic idea, dude. I don't give you props on many things, but I like that idea. Removing aggro with that's pretty smart, dude. Look at that, man. Hey.
Well, I mean, it's basically, I think, an ability in every MMO with some sort of rogue ability. Smoke? Yeah. Well, I mean, like a shadow of cloak of shadows, something like that to drop aggro or to go invisible or whatever, you know what I mean? But it would be cool, a cool mechanic. I don't really like invisibility in games. I think it can be a really bad mechanic a lot of the times, but something like this that only, you have to aim and shoot and you only get a brief moment of,
Yeah, but you're not really invisible and people can still hit you in the smoke.
Decreased mobility, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I think that's cool. I've never seen like anything like that where there's a cloud of smoke and it reduces aggro and you can run away from the mobs. Puts a barrier between you and them.
Didn't it
That'd
make
be
it
cool.
like hard to target or like you couldn't? They don't get to see your nameplate or something like that. It had some.
Yeah, you couldn't see the nameplate. It was very thick. I mean, you run into the smoke, dude. You can't see anything. If you're in that smoke, dude, you're completely surrounded by smoke. So it was very thick. You couldn't see anything. Couldn't see nameplates at all. I don't know what the rest of the tree was like. I can't remember, but it was the ability itself. It was neat, like it was cool, and it was used in PvP, but that was it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, obviously, they, like you said, they added some cool abilities, so it's gonna be hard to miss that when they changed it out for like poison shot and things that you would, obviously think more along the lines of like a ranger or some sort of bow ability. So. And the other ranged weapon, Musket, obviously had a massive rework. It was one of like the weakest skill trees in the game, in my opinion. And they made a bunch of changes to this. The first one, which a lot of my YouTube viewers who downvoted my video will be happy to know, Musket Reloads. Musket Reload cannot be canceled anymore, and now has been sped up. So now the reload time is quicker. Bordy, Musket, I think, suffered from being so niche, only having like one or two uses in the game that no one was using it. So it's good to see these reworks. Hopefully this changes the way people see muskets and the builds around muskets. Now it's tied to intellect as well, not only just the dexterity. So we'll see, man. We'll see if these changes, but this is a big one. The reload time is faster now.
Yeah, which is really, really good because the Musket wasn't very viable out in open world PvP. If we're being real honest, it was probably decent in sieges.
Unless you were
on the ramparts
and right.
Yeah, well, unless you were pulling a redbird and exploiting the reload ability, which dude, hey, whatever.
I was animation canceling. Okay, listen, it's fine, everybody. There's in a lot of video games. You may not like it, but it's okay.
It was there.
I don't like. And for the record, I don't like games that you need to like manipulate the actual mechanics and abilities in the game, like in that manner, like macroing or like animation canceling. I don't like those added things like to make yourself like when you're min-maxing, making yourself viable or as a player. I don't like those mechanics. I do enjoy like for the game just to be like at what it is at face value, and and rely on skill versus how fast you can click your two mouse buttons in Secession or whatever. So dude. So the next musket change here is it no longer has a melee, which was like you basically your character would hit the enemy with the butt of your gun if they were in melee range. Now it's a hip fire shot always, Bordy.
That's kind of interesting to me, man. I don't know if I like that change or not. It says it's to prevent it from interfering with hip firing or reloading, but I don't know, man. What do you use the musket a lot more than I have? So did you use the melee attack with the musket, or would you rather hip fire with that thing?
I mean, a lot of the time, when this is probably a bad example, a lot of the times I'd use the life staff to blink out of range again and just get away from them and then keep shooting. But the thing is interesting. Like, okay, so like you don't want to use the a musket. The most obviously you would think would be the longest range weapon in the game. You wouldn't really ideally want to use that in melee form. If they've gotten up on you, hopefully you have some weapon on your back bar.
Switch to your back bar.
Yeah, that deals with them more effectively. But the hip fire, I don't know, man. That was always awkward. Like the reload took so long. Like if anything happened during that reload, you're basically screwed. You're gonna have to go through that entire process again of trying to reload your musket, and it is very cumbersome. And again, made the weapon not very good at all. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how to feel about this change. I'm gonna have to see it applied. I think in action before I can.
I didn't use the musket a whole lot, so I don't really know about the melee and how that felt whenever somebody got within range, but I like the idea of whenever somebody runs up in your face that you can at least hit them with the musket and then have a chance to swap to your back bar to fight them. I kind of like the idea of being able to do that, and it's almost like if somebody gets in melee range, you should be able to hit them and maybe not stagger them, but I don't know, do something. I guess hip firing is fine too because you can do some damage to them. I don't know. I like the idea of being able to hit someone with the musket, but in practice, I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's good or not because I didn't use it a lot.
Yeah, and
it sounded like it was terrible before.
The weapon also has abilities like traps and sticky bombs. That hopefully, like if someone does get into melee range, you can use those to deter them from attacking you, right? So, maybe that is the answer to, instead of trying to auto attack them, maybe you should use your trap or something to slow them down to make sure they don't, you're able to get out of the range of their melee attacks quicker.
Yeah, so it's probably not a big deal all the way around. I mean, I think it's fine probably. I don't have enough experience with the musket to really speak on it too much, but
yeah,
it's interesting
I would say generally, I would have liked to see more changes to the musket. Just as a whole, but we will see, man. We'll see how these changes work out, and if this is more still of a niche weapon versus something you're gonna run around with. Speaking of meta weapons, dude, the fire staff has had massive changes and reworked, renamed both skill trees, tons of ability changes and the way these abilities work, the passives, the adaptations of these skills. Dude, the fire staff is looking pretty strong, man. Just at face value, looking at these patch notes, it looks crazy.
It does. It looks it looks a little nuts, man. It looks a little bit nuts. I know there for a little while, fire staff was pretty strong back in the day. Now it looks very strong on paper. We'll have to see how this plays out, but there's some pretty interesting abilities in there. Do we want to dig down in some of those? You have any you want to point out?
I mean, go ahead. We'll tell you if you have some. I don't have an.
So the one of them that sticks out to me is this cauterized wounds restores 30% of damage dealt by incinerate. That seems incredibly strong. I don't know how much damage incinerate does because it doesn't say on here. But restoring damage dealt seems strong. I don't think that was there before. And then it also allows you to cast that ability twice, which seems pretty strong. The flamethrower seems like it's back in action now. It seems pretty strong. There's no cooldown. You can get all the way down to Pyro Dancer, which I feel like that was there already. Wasn't that something that was in the game already?
What?
In the preview event, the flamethrower not having a cooldown?
I don't remember. I never used that ability.
No.
I didn't use the fire staff at all during the preview event, actually.
There's just a few that look pretty strong here. Incinerate kind of jumps out. It looks really strong, and then a couple of these passives look really good too.
Passives are where the power is, I think, for sure.
Bro, Heavy attacks no longer consume mana. That's a pretty big deal, I think. Heavy attacks restore 5% of max mana on hit. There's a couple of other ones on here too. Your ability to gain extra 15% crit on hits. If you haven't taken damage in the last 3 seconds, deal 10% more damage. While holding a fire staff, your critical damage is increased by 35%. And then some of the passives on some of these abilities are pretty strong too. It seems really, really good. I'm going to be interested to see this in action.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the more excited changes or the more changes that I'm excited about, dude. I'm ready to see some more intellect weapons to tie in with that fire staff as well. So hopefully we'll get to see those soon.
Yeah, looks like it adds a lot of dot damage too, but called burning,
which is
crazy.
And fire. Yeah, it tends to light
I agree.
Fires.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. It just seems good.
It seems
on paper.
Good.
Seems good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, man. So that about does it for the overglance or the overview of these weapon changes. If you want to look for the full ones, again, we have them over at New World Fans posted in the March patch notes over there. So check those out. Also, today on this episode, we are going to talk about the updates to questing. Now, New World just put out something this week. They're on a roll, dude. They're posting like they've never posted before, Bordy. And this is the second week of
close, man.
Yeah, dude, it really is, and I'm hyped for it for sure. I'm here for it, dude. I want more information now, or whenever you'll give it, please. So the updates to the questing design here, Bordy, are very interesting to me. Questing is a massive part of most MMOs, especially PvE driven ones. What we know, New World is kind of pushing for a more theme park, or at least less survival oriented MMO. And Bordy, they made tons of changes here on the quest, or at least announced tons of their changes and vision for questing. So let's go through these real quick here, Bordy. Okay. At the end of our 60th episode here. So here we go, dude. One of the biggest changes I think that they've made in questing so far, obviously, is the presence of questing, because during the preview event, it was basically just spam faction missions until you level up. And it was very unpleasurable for a lot of people. Obviously, I do think they said this publicly. They sped up leveling for the preview event so that people could experience, what the game has and give feedback on what was in the game thus far. But dude, it was still painful, right? Even with the increased amount of XP gain, spamming the same 6 quests over and over is not what ideal for a leveling experience in an MMO.
Which I think that the questing wasn't addressed really early on because the game wasn't centered around quests before. It wasn't a theme park game before. This was a sandbox game back in the day that has now turned into a theme park game. And so now questing is going to have to be very important in this game for it to be successful because of the direction they've taken. Before questing really didn't matter because it was a sandbox game. You ran around, you did whatever you wanted to do. I mean, take like Valheim, for example, or a lot of these other survival style games. There's no quest in there. They're completely sandbox. You go do what you want to do. A lot of them are heavily focused on PvP. Valheim, not so much, but there's other stuff to do in that game. And so that's kind of where New World was. But now that it's a full on, basically a full on theme park at this point, the questing has to hit, dude. It has to be good. And we have yet to see questing from them be really, really good. So it's very nice to see them push this out, the updates on quest design. And I personally, I don't know how you feel about these posts that they push out. I don't know how anybody feels about these, but I like these whenever they put like their vision and talk about their 4 key pillars for certain things. Some of this may just be fluff. I don't know, but I really like the way they lay these out. And they've done this before on other aspects of the game too. And it seems like whenever they lay these out, they really try to hit these like pillars that they lay out. So I really enjoy these posts the vision and then the 4 pillars type of thing. I like them, man. It's good to see that they're addressing the issue. They know Quest has to be good now.
Well, I think in general, it shows a willingness to be accountable for what they want to do, for what their goals are. It also, I think, paints a picture of what New World is going to be or what it's striving to be. So that way people know when you're coming in, it's no longer, and I hate to break someone's bubble. I know there's at least a few people out there. It's not a open world sandbox PvP game anymore. And these visions should clearly state that for everybody who's still thinking that it is. And I'm with you, dude. I love seeing this because it gives me hope that and it acknowledges that they're still working on something that me and you both know is very important for the success of this game. Having something to do all the way up to level 60 and not feeling like you're just dropped off in the middle of nowhere or you're stuck doing the same quest over and over again to level up is very, very important to this game's short-term success for sure. Because, as people log in and pay their $40 and get in the game, if they get to 20 or 30 or 40 and feel like there's nothing more for them to experience in the game, or they don't even want to continue to play the game after that, amount of time, there's something definitely wrong. And dude, they know that. They are working hard at putting these things in here. So let's go over these real quick, Bordy. These are the 4 key pillars of questing. In their mind, these are the 4 things that they're going to kind of center their work around inside of the questing bubble. So give players identity and purpose, immerse players in Eternum, provide consistent activities for players, and highlight special moments and celebrate progression. So, Bordy, these are pretty standard, I think, for a questing system. Again, adding lore and story into the game, keeping players, informed on why they're Eternum, who they're fighting, why they're fighting. Those are all key parts of PvE content in an MMO.
Yeah, I think the 4 pillars are spot on, man. Identity, purpose, immersion in the game, which is something that I think was lacking a little bit before. You didn't feel it really immersed, and in a lot of like competitive games, open world sandbox PvP games, you really don't. You're in it for almost a competition. It's not really like an immersion type of thing where you really immerse yourself in the game. So I think that that's spot on too. If you're going to have quests, you want them to be immersive. You want to feel attached to the characters. You want to be immersed in the story. Very good, man. Consistent activities for players, dude.
Huge.
That's a key one there because that wasn't in there before either. Like you said before, we were just running around flying by the seat of our pants doing all of these faction missions and whatever. There was really no story-driven content at all. There wasn't a lot of consistent activities. It was kind of felt really scattered on the things you did. Perfect. And then celebrate progression, dude. Those are great. All 4 I think are spot on, and that's exactly what all 4 of these the game desperately needed. So they're spot on here.
I agree. The immersive part is so important to the PvE crowd within this genre, and that's something I think they really do need a lot of work on. Obviously, considering there was no main story line, and one of the big things, Bordy, that they've stated in this article is there will be a main storyline all the way to level 60. So this is
that's good.
This is big, especially for those PvE players.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that this is something, obviously, along with the addition to expeditions, the systems that are already in place with the corrupted breaches. This leveling experience is starting to shape itself up, dude, between the questing, the progressive expedition system that, at each, maybe like 25, 35, 45, you'll have a new expedition to run with new lore and purpose, or even more frequently than that, hopefully. And then you have as you're running around Eternum, obviously the corrupted breaches, fighting those back. It does start to shape itself out here. Along, obviously, with the missions that were already in place, players having a decent amount to do while leveling, and I think that's, again, fulfilling one of their pillars here.
I think so.
Here's a big thing for me, and we talked a little bit, I think, last episode, voiceover on all quests, dude. This is something that, if you're in 2021 and you're producing a AAA title, I think this is a given, right? You've got to have this.
Got to have it, dude. Yeah, I think so for sure. It adds a lot of flavor to the game. And again, I think adding voiceover and improved dialogue also hits on that key pillar about immersion. It's whenever you actually hear the NPC talk and then they have their own voice and then they have better dialogue, and it helps immerse yourself into the story and become attached to those characters within the story. And the voiceover, most definitely, at least it helps me whenever I hear the NPC actually talking to me. I love it, man. I'm really glad that they're doing this, and I think that I think that a lot of other people are going to be happy with it too.
I agree. It's going to be great to have some of these characters, or hopefully learn about characters in New World, and for them to come to life, dude. I really hope that they voice some of the antagonists too, like Isabella and those characters that they've been hyping up. Hopefully they have, they said cinematics. They used that specifically in one of the breakdowns, dude. So I'm excited to see more cinematics in the game for sure.
Yes, I think that adds a lot too in the way of immersion. Whenever you get those cinematic cuts for certain areas or certain things you're doing, I really enjoy that as well. Yeah,
dungeons. Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
it's definitely a great way to progress the story and to show off the lore and the characters in Eternum. So hopefully there's more of that along the way. All right, man. Well, if you guys for the full write up on the questing design and the pillars and all of that stuff, go check out New World Fans. We got an article over there, and you can be informed on their vision, because I think it's a good one. I obviously very excited about the game, and this just continues to make me more excited about the leveling process inside of New World. All right, man. So we have came to the end of Here we go again. We have come to the end of our episode. We have come to the end of our episode here. So why don't you go ahead and shout out the company of the week?
Yeah, man. The company of the week this week is Midnight Aflame. This is a pretty unique company, man, and a pretty cool group of people. This may be something that some of you out there are into. So, a Midnight Aflame, they are a Christian and family-friendly oriented company. So, if you want a family-friendly and Christian-based company, here you go. Midnight Aflame. Midnight Aflame is an active and spirited company filled with members who are eagerly awaiting to crash upon the shores of Eternum. Come join us as we pick wildflowers, slay timber, and water the vegetation with the blood of our enemies. Yo, that got dark real quick.
Yeah. What happened to picking flowers, man? I was like, Christian-based flower picking. I was like, all right. And then all of a sudden, like, we're murder. And I was like, uh-oh.
Water the vegetation with the blood of our enemies. All right.
Hey, man.
So
who knows, dude? Maybe that is better than water, putting blood on plants. We've never tried it yet.
It may be. Fertilizer.
Do you remember in science? Sorry, I'm interrupting.
No.
Science class. Did you ever do those studies where it's like, what works better for plants? And then we did like milk, orange juice, all these stupid things like Coke. Yeah. And it's like, and then the controls water, and it's like, well, duh, water is clearly the best. But dude, we didn't try blood, man. So
science class.
We messed up, dude. Maybe blood is the answer.
Maybe so. Who knows, man?
Well, let us know in the comments below. How does blood work on plants?
Oh my gosh, dude. Okay, took a weird turn. Yeah. All right, sorry, Midnight Aflame, for the interruption and a shout out there.
My bad.
So again, a Christian-based, family-friendly. They are a North American company. Time zone is Pacific and Eastern. They're spread across the states. They say their faction is Syndicate or Covenant. It's to be determined at this point. Language is English. There is no age limits to join this company. They have VoiceCom Discord is encouraged always and required during wars. They also have a website which will be linked obviously, and their website looks dope, dude. I just clicked on it. Oh man, it looks really, really good, dude. Dang, man. Hey, look at that, bro. They do have it. They said they have a dope website, so I clicked on it, and it is a dope website. So, if you're interested in joining, I'll make sure to link all of that in the descriptions of the podcast and on the YouTube channel. All of their descriptions will be below. So make sure you click the link and check them out if you're interested in joining the company. I got off of their company page because I clicked on their website, the Midnight Aflame company. There you go.
All right. And thank you to Midnight Aflame for promoting your company on New World Fans. We really appreciate that. If you guys are interested, you head over to New World Fans and click on their link, dude, and look at their dope website with their cool looking emblem, man. People are dude, I love when guilds get together and are hyper organized and have all this cool, all the website and Discord and all that stuff. Dude, good on them. And I'm excited to see people hyped up for New World, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Again, thank you for 500 on YouTube. We're very, very grateful for you guys' continuing audience for the podcast and the support we get on a daily basis. And, Bordy, anything else to add here as we're closing down?
No, I don't think so, man.
All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in another episode 61 of New World to Go.